What's up, guys? Welcome to Speed Gaming and the Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey game swap race between Specs and Stats and Dangers. This has been set up for a while, and I'm quite excited. And I'm joined by Cow Pyro on co-commentary to cover this event.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're as excited as I am. This is going to be an extremely interesting race, particularly because they're two different games, and you'd think that wouldn't work, but you'll be pleasantly surprised at how even this is going to end up being.
Yeah, for sure. I have the big advantage here that I actually have run both games a lot. Like, SMO is actually the game that I speedrun first. Funnily enough, Breath of the Wild is the game that got me into speedrunning. So I love both of these games. These are like my favorite two games. Like, actually, these two games are my favorite games of the time. And it's going to be fun to have decent knowledge for both of those. But this is going to be quite different than analyzing a speedrun on... like, knowledge won't matter as much. We can obviously try to explain you guys what these guys are trying to do, but both of these guys are new to these respective games. So Specs and Stats obviously very famous and very... pretty much the 100% runner of Breath of the Wild. He mastered the 100% category like nobody else. He's playing this daily in some shape or form. And he was able to get the first completion of 100% in another day, and so on and so forth. Dangers, a Super Mario Odyssey connoisseur, got multiple world records in multiple categories, like World Peace, Dark Side before, got into top 10 in any percent multiple times, played in the first GSA Super Mario Odyssey any percent league. Like, he's a Mario man. And these guys effectively are going to be swapping their games today. Dangers is going to be running Breath of the Wild any percent, and Cow and I can definitely talk about that in full length, because that run is crazy. It's super rough.
Oh, yeah.
Specs and Stats, on the other hand, is going to do a Mario Odyssey any percent run. And even though the record for Odyssey is actually twice as long as the record for Breath of the Wild, I would argue that finishing a run of Odyssey is so... like, you can't even put it into words. How much easier it technically is to finish a run in Odyssey than it is in Breath of the Wild. We'll get to that in full length.
Yeah, definitely. I plan on expounding on that a little bit, but... I don't really see a reason to keep these runners waiting. I'm sure they're very excited to try their respective new categories.
All right, I'm going to be able to count these boys down in the group DM, and then we should be on our way. Just going to go for a little bit of a ready check there, if they are actually ready. And then just count them down. Once again, you'll see any percent Super Mario Odyssey on the right screen, and Breath of the Wild on the left. And I just counted them down in our group DM, so we should be on our way shortly. One thing that I immediately noticed, by the way, is that we see that both runners here are currently on the English version of the respective games, which is unoptimal for both of these games. It is actually optimal to play Super Mario Odyssey in Japanese, and it saves a lot, actually, compared to Breath of the Wild. It saves, like, I think 12 seconds or something along these lines.
Yes. And one of the interesting things that is really something that you wouldn't really think of in the current any percent route is I'm betting Dangers is not going to be doing any clipping, because learning clipping takes an inordinate amount of time. So running English without clipping means that he's going to hit all the cutscenes, and that's going to significantly slow him down over German in the route he'll probably be taking. I actually don't know the amount of time it's been so long.
The amount of time he saved, I think it's like 4 seconds or something between English and German. That's like the last I've heard, but honestly, it's been a while, obviously.
That was back with clipping, though, isn't it? Without clipping, it's much longer than that.
Oh, there's an extra text.
There's an extra text box. There's an extra cutscene, and it's really the last cutscene before you exit Shrine of Resurrection. That has the longest amount of time difference, I guess I should say. So starting off here, Specs and Stats is already getting into gameplay. Meanwhile, Dangers is stuck watching a cutscene, one of the most annoying cutscenes, and he's got several more that he's going to have to go through.
Yeah, this is a good time to talk about the drastic different ideas of these two any percent runs, actually. Because Super Mario Odyssey is kind of the most
That
linear
is the cheapest
speedrun that you could think of. There's these
Take it.
kingdoms that you can unlock.
It will help
Sometimes
guide
there's
you
like a
after a
fork where you
long
can
slumber.
decide between one or the other, but you are gonna have to complete both of them anyways. It's basically full on linear. There's no major sequence breaks, nothing. Breath of the Wild is designed to be basically not to be broken, but it's designed to be played however you want it. There's this one part at the start, the Great Plateau, which is kind of this tutorial section. Dangerous is probably going to spend the first around like 30, 25 minutes there. And after that, you can do whatever you want. And the idea of any percent is you just immediately go to the final boss and try to beat him, somehow get strong along the way.
Hold the Sheikah slate
But obviously it's
up to the
drastically different
pedestal.
because you have to go through everything. It's complete
That will show you
linearity.
the way.
So to give kind of an idea on how this is going to, what you can expect from the run is, as Lim said, the first beginning when you're on Great Plateau, you're going to have to go through the 4 shrines, and then you can bum rush Hyrule Castle. Now, hypothetically, that's actually going to be faster than Super Mario Odyssey, which is going to force you through each and every step. But unlike Odyssey, where the developers actually intend you to beat the game this way,
Link,
the developers for
you
Breath
are
of the
light,
Wild
our light,
made it available
that
for you
must
to
shine
beat the
upon
game
Hyrule
immediately,
once again.
but do not really intend you to do
Never.
it. So what we might end up seeing here is Dangers actually gets to the final boss much earlier
Yeah.
than Specs and Stats, but then he's going to hit a brick wall. And he's going to have to fight 4 of the dungeon bosses in a row, plus the final boss, Calamity Ganon. And if he dies to any of those, he will have to reset and try, or not reset, but like it'll start him back at the beginning of all those boss fights. And it can lose him up to 6 minutes every try. So even though it might look like he's winning right when he gets to the boss fights, it's far from over.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a prediction here, and that's just fair to say. If Dangerous is able to finish this run, he's a massive legend. Like, once again, I'm not trying to put the pressure on him, but I would be fairly surprised if he makes it all the way through. I think for a category as hard as 80%, I would have major respect for him if he's able to get to Calamity and maybe even to the second phase and that stuff. But I wouldn't blame him at all if he wasn't able to get through that. And as you said, that massive brick wall. These boss fights, when I was learning them for any percent, it took me a straight week of practice before I got through them once with the potion timer running and with all of the strats that you are supposed to do. Obviously it's easier when you get casual with 16,000 bomb arrows, the most broken bows in the game, and armor and Mipha's Grace. But all of that usually you won't have here. You'll have 3 hearts, no armor, and only the weapons that you can find along the way.
Okay, so I wanted to point something out real quick. Regarding what Dangers is doing, he's actually going to grab a beetle, which will be used in making a level 3 strength elixir that he'll need for the boss fights. But if he doesn't do the boss fights optimally, he might find that his time on that elixir will run out, and it'll get that much harder.
Yep.
Specs and Stats, on the other hand, is already approaching the boss of the, I want to say, the
Cascade
first
Kingdom.
major world? I mean, it's technically the second kingdom.
Yeah, I want to say this is almost like the second part of the tutorial. I want to say Sand Kingdom, which is the kingdom after this one, is the first major world. This is kind of, you get introduced how do kingdoms work. You need to hit a certain amount of power moons to leave these kingdoms, which is why this game is also great for speedrun. You don't have to complete worlds. You actually don't even, most of the time, you don't even have to complete bosses. You have a certain amount of moons that you have to collect in this world. It's 5 here in Cascade Kingdom. And then as we move on, that number will increase or decrease depending on the scale of the kingdom. And as soon as you get this amount of moons, you can move on to the next world and so on until you get to the final kingdom, which is the Moon Kingdom.
You know, one thing I didn't really think about, but I did just notice, is that Specs did the level skip where he used the T-Rex to climb all the way to the top.
Dinosaur advanced strategies coming out here from Specs and Stats.
I'm interested to see if Dangers likewise has learned some of the skills from the older route of any % Breath of the Wild, where you'd actually use tree launches to move yourself across Hyrule Field. Alternatively, after he finishes the Great Plateau, he can just grab a horse and ride to Hyrule Castle, which is almost as fast, particularly for somebody who's not as familiar with things like tree launches.
Yeah, so I actually got to watch some preparation of Dangers, and he definitely has acquired some decent knowledge. As you were mentioning earlier, this attack potion, which is very crucial later on for the completion of the boss rush. Dangers has already figured out that if you pick up a Moblin Guts, you can increase your duration slightly, helping out on that department. Like, he definitely has acquired some knowledge of the game.
That's excellent. So Spex's struggling a little bit with getting up that wall. Finally gets the moon, moving on. Danger's finishing the Great Plateau, kind of like Great Plateau. It's so slow to start when you're doing this route, because you're just trying to hit those cutscenes, just trying to activate the shrine so you can finally get to the shrines and complete them.
It's really funny how this looks in comparison, right? Spex has just finished up the second world of the game, while Dangers hasn't even entered the first shrine out of 120 that are technically available for you.
Yeah. So Lim, how many worlds are there that Spex is going to have to go through?
All right, so it is actually 14. That's the number I'm throwing out on the top of my head, because I think that is correct. It's going to start off with Cap, Cascade, and I think it's 12 more. I might be completely off. That's, I think, the amounts of splits they had. Let me go through that. So from here on out, it's Sand.
Wait, did he did fall damage cancel, but he let go of his axe.
I hope he's fine. Yeah. Yeah, okay, chat is having my back. It's 14. I remember I used to have 14 splits in this game. The thing is, just now, he's entering the first major world just now, and I'm actually personally interested if he's going to decide to go for the common any percent route, which, by the way, he already can't technically. The current meta for any percent in Sand Kingdom actually uses something called it's basically an abuse of the summertime change that's obviously happening once a year, where we kind of set our clock up in a way that we can kind of manipulate the clock in a way that when you get to Sand, you can plant one of these seeds, and these seeds usually take 20 minutes to grow. But if you set your clock like 6 minutes before the time change happens, and plant the seed just before the switch happens on your console, if you're offline, the time is obviously the console is reading the time from the game is reading the time from the console. Oh, Dangerous is drowned because he walked into water well out of stamina.
He's looking for his axe that he threw during the fall damage cancel glitch. It's possible it despawned, and he might have to come up with another option. I'm trying to think when the next time he actually needs the axe is. I think it's... if he's not doing any launches, he might be okay.
After Cryonis, he I'm not sure if he learned the fall damage cancel on his way to Stasis. That's like the one part I could think of.
Right, but you can work around that pretty easily.
Yeah, you can climb down, technically.
Yeah, if I were him, because it's technically possible to do... Great Plateau without grabbing any weapons, any items. So I would just go without the axe. He technically doesn't need it, especially if he uses a horse to get to Hyrule Castle.
Yeah, sadly he does obviously not have the Magnesis ability yet, which would have been very useful there to fish out the axe from that pond. But yeah, it shouldn't be a big issue. I think he recognized that as well. Looks like Spexen that's on the right screen is mostly going for the currently used any percent moons in Sand. Sand is my favorite kingdom in the run, not only in any percent, but also in all of the longer categories in this game. It's the most fun to route, which that's actually what I've done mostly on this stage as a router. I obviously played the game a lot, but routing is what I had most fun with. And Sand is so open, you get to really be wild as a router in that kingdom.
Honestly, I've always wondered how it would feel to speedrun Super Mario Odyssey. It's one of the games that I've seriously considered after Breath of the Wild.
And this is my go-to pick when it comes to people that are saying, okay, now obviously the biggest thing, if you want to start speedrunning anything, you should always go with the game you love, because you're going to spend up to 1,000 or more hours playing that game. Specs sadly falling here. This is going to make it impossible for him to obtain his moon instead, unless he goes all the way back, which he opts to do. They just actually took damage from that Guardian. No, from the box or from the Guardian. I didn't actually see that.
It was probably both. He came out of the fall damage cancel with a heart and a half. The Guardian only takes a quarter,
I think. Yeah. All right, not the biggest deal. But yeah, Specs actually lost a lot of time there. He's deciding, and that's probably because, obviously, if you play the game a lot, you would be able to route in a backup moon on the fly here. Going all the way back to get that moon is obviously super slow. But Specs is gonna opt to do that just because that's what he knows. Those are the moons he knows of, and Dana's going for the shield jump.
Lim, I gotta step away for a second. I'm sure you can take it from here. I'll be back shortly.
Obviously. But yeah, Specs moving on from here is probably going to grab the moon hidden in the luggage, a very quick moon, then move over to the Sphinx. Now, a little commercial break here. I'm going to be hitting you up with some knowledge about this game. You will see on Danger screen here, every time you get a spirit orb in a shrine, at the very end the monk gives you, and Danger's actually messed it up. That might have been just because he's unfamiliar to the game. You see the loading screen here, the Zelda logo is currently completely blacked out and actually takes a while until it starts loading. Still hasn't started loading yet. And now it starts to load. If you actually wait a little bit on that cutscene until that text dissolves, you get around a 4-second faster load. One of the freest time saves you can get in that game. I know Dangerous is aware of that, but obviously, since he's just getting thrown into the cold water with that game, he might not be able to think of everything immediately. On the other hand, Specs is already moving on quite quickly here. Has obtained the first 10 moons in sand, and is probably going to make his way through the Oasis to, basically get all of the remaining moons before he's able to leave Sand Kingdom. And is then either going to move on to Lake or Wooded. Most runners deciding to go Lake after this one because it's the choice that the game automatically basically defaults to. And it's just like you can just mash A. Ooh, gotta be missing the moon here on the leaning pillar, and has to go back to grab another bullet bill. These bullet bills are on a timer, and I'm actually extremely curious if Specs instead is going to decide to go for the Jaxi skip here, a fairly risky strategy, and looks like he's going to attempt it here. Is actually going to get it. That's very nice. That's the strat that when most people start out, actually runners decide to skip out on, because that wall jump can be pretty hard to get, and if you do miss it, you will drop down to the poison there, and you will die, and your last checkpoint is on the Sphinx, leaving the Sphinx room, so you do not want to mess with that. Now, I'm not sure what Danger's plans right now. I think he's trying to kill the Bokobans to maybe obtain their weapons. Is that what he's trying to do? Or is he still looking for an axe? I'm not sure if he figured out. I think he's just looking for any weapon.
Honestly, he doesn't really need a weapon.
That's the thing.
But I guess that's one of the things that you'll notice about these runners. They've actually had a little bit of time to practice the game, but not enough time to really learn it, which means that the route that they've chosen, they're going to have a hard time breaking. So, for example, he's grabbing a bow here, but there's a chest underneath a boulder near the Stasis Shrine that he can actually get a bow there.
That's just obviously a knowledge that he currently is lacking, but he's actually making the best out of it. It looks like he's probably going to opt to go to the Bomb Shrine right now, since he's here anyway, which in that original older route was the last shrine, actually, and might make his way to the Temple of Time after Stasis and maybe warping from here, which is actually a nice on-the-fly adaptation.
Well, funny caveat on that is before Bombs was the last shrine, it was actually the first shrine. So in the oldest route, it would go Bombs, Magnesis, and then you'd warp to Shrine of Resurrection, Cryonis, and then Stasis, and then you would boulder launch to Temple of Time. Likewise, Magnesis and Bombs were interchangeable. Some people would go to Magnesis and then Bombs and then warp. So this isn't all that different and definitely not suboptimal.
Danger's actually making kind of nice usage already of the shield jump mechanic, which not only is really fun to use casual, as you can slide down slopes with your shield, but can actually be used as some sort of double jump, since you're able to shield jump mid-air. And Danger's already using that quite nicely. It's very, very used in the official, in the full-on any percent route. Another question that I just picked up from chat is the whistle sprinting something that we haven't really talked about. It's one of the oldest and most commonly known glitches in this run, where you are able to infinitely sprint while holding down the whistle button when you mash the B button, which also refills the stamina, but it's still very, very slightly slower than normal running, so optimally you want to basically go back and forth from sprinting to whistle sprinting, back and forth.
Right, and if you want to know the reason why it's slightly slower, whistle sprinting is the equivalent of mashing your sprint button. The only difference is that you're holding whistle while you're at it. So it goes the exact same speed as if you just mashed your sprint button. Specs making good progress on the... I actually don't remember what the world is called.
The Lake Kingdom?
Yep. Yes. Really turning through this one.
This one is super interesting on the highest level of play. It's fairly boring when you start out because you are basically just getting some quick fish moons and then fight the boss. But this is one of the hardest strats in the run, in the most optimal route, as you are going for a very tight wall clip that allows you to get the painting moon of the kingdom very early and an additional moon, but won't see anything along these lines for Specs. That's something really only, I want to say, the best maybe 20 to 25 runners in the world go. And you got to keep in mind, since Odyssey is so beginner friendly, it's actually one of the most ran games ever, close to like SM64 and stuff. Like, I think any percent is easily over 1,000 runners on the board, so being top 25 there's a huge accomplishment. Another thing to point out here is we see some coins on that boss fight here, Rango. Specs is already set with his coin count. You need 200 coins in the most common any percent routes. Shop moons are fairly easy to get, and even though they are technically slow compared to some other openly available moons, they are very easy to play optimally because you just gotta get in there, talk to the guy, get the moon, and get out. They do cost 100 coins. 2 of them are optimally in the route. And Specs is already at 300. He's gonna be able to buy those moons.
Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and switch the audio over to Dangers since Specs has had it for a little bit. Dangers has warped to Shrine of Resurrection. He's now going to be making his way to Cryonis. There's a couple of ways he can choose to approach this. The most optimal one is for him to enter the cold area and shield surf down to the bridge at the river. However, if that shield surf is done unoptimally, he'll find himself running out of health real quick. So I'm curious to see if he'll just run along the side or if he's just going to take the dive into the cold.
Yeah, now this specific part of the old route is what, when I learned this game, made me immediately want to learn the harder parts. I thought this is so uncomfortable to do and so clunky. Not only is the shield surf, it feels nice if you get it optimally, if you jump over all of these slopes, and looks like Dangerous is going to be going, but loses some speed early though. Might be able to keep up onto, yeah, it looks fine enough. He's probably going to be able to at least get close to the bridge. The thing is, after the shield surf, you're going to have to go for a very long climb up the mountain. And that specific climb is, I mean, you can definitely master it. I've heard before that this part of the run is actually possible to do without taking damage. I've never done that when I started learning this game. And it felt so clunky for me that I decided to just switch for the optimal route, which actually, Kao, you might be able to briefly talk about what even changed on Plateau and nowadays if you play optimally. Or not. Rip. Nowadays, the plateau route is obviously drastically different from what Dangerous is going for. We are actually able, in Breath of the Wild, optimally these days, to skip activating the Great Plateau Tower, which makes it so that all of the shrines in the overworld are locked. But with the discovery of the shield clip, we are able to enter these shrines anyway, which allows us to go for a way straighter route through the game. Additionally, one of the biggest discoveries last year, the bullet time bounce, made it so that we are able to basically fly from shrine to shrine in straight lines. Danger's showing off why this climb is absolutely frustrating and annoying. You don't have much stamina, so you have to kind of abuse... Wait, was Specs going for nut clip there? Did I just see that right? I was looking to the right screen. He was like backflipping. I think he did it for the meme. Not going to be able to get that. It's a huge skip in Wooded that allows us to get 2 quick moons. But I would be very surprised if Specs would have been able to pull that off, especially the part after you actually clip. Yeah, backflipping the other way, but potentially still showing some hints that he is aware that this is a strategy. They just has made it up the cliff and is gonna make his way over to the Cryonis Shrine. Now, this is the third out of 4 shrines that Dangerous is gonna have to get. Optimally, the shrine is a little bit tricky. There's a pretty big skip that saves up to 7 seconds that you can do here. I would be surprised if Dangerous goes for that one. If you just play through the shrine casually, it's very fast and relatively easy to do. All right. Specs and stats going through the Flooding Pipeway subroom. A subroom that for many new runners actually induces nightmares if you want to be optimal. Now, he was actually playing pretty well there on the second cycle. Optimally, this room is possible without taking damage, which makes it so that you are going through the stage pretty fast. And this is actually really interesting to point out. If you make mistakes in Breath of the Wild, most of the time you lose huge amounts of time. We saw the death that Dangerous had there, basically him falling down that entire mountain. And that Kao was already pointing out earlier that if you die during a boss rush, you will lose up to like 6 minutes. The thing in Odyssey is the time losses are less, but you can get them everywhere. For example, every time you take damage, in this game, whenever you pick up a moon, there is a animation that refills your health, which loses you 2 seconds. So if you can, you want to avoid damage. Otherwise, every moon is going to be 2 seconds slower if you don't pick them up at full health.
Okay, Dangerous just scared the living daylights out of me. He was at a quarter of a heart and being shot at the Guardian there.
He is fine though. This is shrine number 3, and there's only 1 shrine to go until he's able to go to Temple of Time, obtain his paraglider, and it's going to make it straight to the castle. And this might actually be similar to what I expected, and I was joking about this on my stream earlier. I was basically telling there's a high chance that Specs might be somewhere in Lost Kingdom, which is like, I want to say 30% into the run, maybe 25. Maybe 35. When you started out, while Dangerous might already be at the castle, and that might actually happen, but as you mentioned, like, Dangerous' real beast is going to be that boss rush. See Specs go for the tower here in Wooded, and is probably going to make his way towards the boss then.
Dangerous shield durability is getting really low. I hope he doesn't accidentally land on it wrong and it breaks. Thankfully, if his shield does break, it's not as crucial.
The thing is, and that is actually going to be super interesting, there is a backup shield in the Stasis Shrine, and I'm not sure if Dangerous is aware of that. And yeah, by the way, this is Kao Pyro Jr. there probably making some noise. Don't worry, guys.
Yes, he was super hungry, so I've been muting myself every so often to try and take care of him.
No worries. The crowd is being entertained. These guys are obviously still going through the stage. Specs is actually about to be done. He's going to be fighting Spewart, the poison-spewing bunny here on top of the tower, which is also going to warp him back to the Odyssey, the ship, so he can make it over to Cloud, which is actually going to be his first encounter with Bowser. Interested to see if he is going for any fancy strats there. As Dangerous is getting close to the last shrine on Plateau now. He is getting pretty low on health. I'm not sure if he still has backup food. Looks like he has a little bit more, but he is pretty low. I'm interested to see, is he going to go for the fall damage cancel here? What do you think? Looks like he might try that. Is going to try that, and is actually getting that successfully. Very nice. Now, once again, there is a backup shield in the Stasis Shrine here. I'm not sure if Dangerous is aware of that. That might be quite helpful. He doesn't necessarily need it because he's not going for any bullet time bounces, which I did briefly mention. It's a strategy that heavily revolves around your shield, but we'll see.
You know, it didn't click with me earlier, but Danger is grabbing that weapon just so that he can do the fall damage cancel here. That's pretty smart if he wasn't confident in climbing down the wall himself.
Yeah, and the way he picked them up, he picked that weapon up was also very, very creative. Using those boulders to kill the bokoblins to then get that weapon. He also used it to get the bow, which, as you pointed out, there is another bow that he probably doesn't know about under this boulder here after the Stasis Shrine. But very clever.
So, if he's doing the boulder launch to Temple of Time, I really hope he remembers to pick up this hammer over here, because otherwise, normally you would just need the axe to do it if he uses the horse to get across Hyrule Field. However, not having the axe, it's going to be very difficult to do that boulder launch with the Boko. Oh, he's skipping it.
He doesn't. Okay, that's interesting.
That's very
He might
interesting.
not go for the launch. I mean, it is a fancy strat that boulder launch, but he might just not go for it. Actually, wait. What would even be his backup strat? Because he can't really make it over the cliff because he doesn't have an axe to cut on a tree or anything.
He can run it, honestly. I've done it multiple times, just setting up things like bingo files. So if he just runs through the cold for a little bit, he should be able to make it to Temple of Time.
Yeah.
That being
True.
said,
I was thinking he needs to go to bombs. True. He is already.
yeah, he doesn't need to go to bomb, so it's just straight to Temple of Time. But he may not be aware that there is another, or that there is an option to run it. He might think that the cliff is too big, or that there's a gap he has to take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. We are gonna see about that now. An interesting factor that we didn't really get to talk about. If you play this game quote-unquote casually, if you don't go for the most optimal route, the time is gonna pass just as normal. And this is going to make it so that Dangers is now arrived at nighttime during Plateau, which is actually really annoying. There's these Stahl Koblins, these skeleton bokoblins spawning here, which actually would make the boulder launch for him here very annoying potentially. But he's not going to mess with it anyways. And as you pointed out, just going to go for the run to Temple of Time. Yeah, I wonder if he's going to pick up any extra axes, weapons, if he knows about that, or if he's just going to run straight. Looks like he's just going to run straight. On the right screen, we see Specs and Stats trying to fight Bowser here. This is our first encounter in Cloud Kingdom. Basically the easy version of the final boss fight, even though the final boss fight actually doesn't really... There's an argument to be made that this fight is harder than the one in... Actually, I might actually think so. Because there's something, optimally at least, there's something called Bowser Manip here that doesn't exist in the Moon Bowser fight. Ooh, Dangers having the confidence to go for that fall damage cancel, but not getting it this time. It's going to take a death here, and these autosaves can be rough. We'll see where it puts him. Now, this is actually going to be super interesting on the right screen as well. If Lost Kingdom, I want to say, almost is the boss rush of Odyssey, it is probably casually this kingdom and Luncheon Kingdom, and actually also the Mech fight in Bowser's Kingdom, are arguably the hardest sections when you start out. Looks like Specs is going to decide to try and go for the meme tree jump, but it's actually going to get a really cool triple jump off here. Very nice, using that Cat Bones as a first jump, and might be able to skip the story, quote-unquote story event of this kingdom, which is Klepto stealing your head. But he is aware that that can be skipped. Very nice. He's gonna take a bonk here, but Lost is extremely scary because obviously this is an island completely surrounded by one-shot poison. If you touch this poison, you won't take damage, you will die. And that's why Specs needs to be very careful. Only 10 moons to be obtained here in Lost, but we see even on the mainland there's big streams of poison flowing around. So far, Specs is making this look pretty easy, actually going for all of the quote-unquote optimal moons. Now, as soon as he gets this moon, which he hopefully does, and walks by Klepto, the trigger will be deactivated so he can safely enter the lower section of Lost Kingdom. Very nice. He grabs the moon inside the rising stone pillar. And interested to see if he's gonna opt for the one under the bridge. That one is always super tricky. There is another moon that is arguably a lot easier to get. The thing though is... we'll see. Wait. Is Dangerous trying to be... Is Dangerous gonna try to BTB?
Mother effer, am I seeing that right?
This is not going to work though, because I'm not sure if you realized that, but this setup. Okay, I think he was doing it. He was doing it for the fans. You need a two-handed weapon to go for the setup that he tried to go for there. There's different animations, so he might opt for. Wait, is he actually gonna get an axe and try again? Is this like his intended idea? Because this axe is his gun. Or is he just gonna make a run for it? We'll see.
I was about to say, Dangerous, just grab a horse and go to castle. Come on, man.
Yeah, this is also only a stick. He should have picked up that hammer. But yeah, the play here is definitely to grab the horse. There's horses just in front of the Great Plateau that you can grab and then ride over. And this BTB that he was maybe jokingly or maybe even seriously attempting there is arguably the single hardest strat. Like if we're just looking at one single strat in the run, optimally, because getting the right speed and the right angle for that BTB is so crazy tight, and I would have been very surprised if he went for that. But it's going to make a run for the horse now, it seems.
Yeah, to give a little more information on the BTB, if you don't know what a BTB is, basically you bounce off of a Bokoblin while shield surfing and in bullet time, and that slows down time about 19 times, but the physics calculation still happens in real time. So when you exit bullet time after the bounce, the physics calculation gets multiplied by 19 times as you move into real time, and that just shoots you off into like the great beyond. That being said, that specific BTB, to get the right angle and the right speed and the right stamina, is approximately a 1 frame trick. Mr. Pop did some comparisons, and that is the conclusion that he arrived at.
Ooh, very nice. Specs is going to be able to get that jump. I remember when I was starting, Dangerous is trying to break these crates, and that's probably because he knows there's some arrows in there, which might help him for the completion later throughout the run, even some backup food. But he's currently lacking a melee weapon, which is actually not a problem if he just went for the horse right now and made his way towards Hyrule. He should be okay, because there's tons of weapons over there, and I think that's what he's going to do. And there's also a good amount of arrows there. He should be fine. He's going to try to snipe the horse here. Does not want to be recognized. He needs to mash the L button to tame this one. Is gonna get it just fine. And let's see. Horses actually have a fair amount of RNG. This one is looking to be a 4 stamina horse, which is good. The best horses for speed are the ones with 3 stamina, but very good sprinting speed. But this is still very nice. Now, Specs was making his run through Night Metro. I remember this section being extremely scary. I don't know why Dangerous wants a melee weapon so much. I'm not sure what he's currently looking for. He's currently getting attacked a little bit. Or maybe the horse was just not listening to him. When you start initially riding on a horse and your bond isn't high, it can be really hard to control.
I actually think I have an answer for the melee question. I think Dangerous is looking for a two-handed weapon so that he can do the slab launch into castle, which would save a lot of time and make things a lot easier for him.
Yeah, definitely. That's always been the strategy to get into the higher levels of the Hyrule Castle, and specifically the dining hall, where you can grab not only tons of weapons, but also very helpful food items that allow you to get a little stronger. We were talking about the attack up potion earlier, and that does seem like the play. Is currently searching for one. If he just grabbed that hammer, dude, you were pointing it out. But anyways, as he's looking for the required melee weapon, Specs, on the other hand, is actually now in the boss fight of Metro Kingdom. This is Mecha Wiggler, and Mecha Wiggler is usually not too hard to fight, but optimally, you can defeat him in 2 cycles. He's going into the wall now once, trying to attack Mario as he's capturing this tank. And if you play this fight optimally, you will be able to defeat him when he shows himself for the next time. I would be very surprised if Specs was able to pull this one off, and he might opt to just play it safe and defeat him in 3 cycles, which loses approximately 25 seconds. But yeah, once again, this is all about aim and understanding. Most people actually use gyro controls here, but I'm interested to see this. Wait, Danger's warping back to the Great Plateau. Interesting. He might think about that hammer, but this was not the shrine with the hammer that he just warped to. This is the Cryonis shrine. No real items to grab here. I think there's like a one-hand sword or something in that one chest, but other than that, I don't know. But yeah, it seems like, by the way, Specs always getting that 2 cycle. Oh, he's actually only at 1 HP. There is a heart if he wanted one, but he's going to be able to make that last shot and defeat the Wiggler. And now Specs is now Dangerous is warping to the Stasis Shrine, which is probably going to mean that he's going to grab that hammer right there. He could warp to the Great Plateau Tower afterwards and then grab the horse and then make his run to Hyrule. And technically there's still a chance that he's going to be fine, because keep in mind, after Specs is done with Metro, this is usually what marks the first half of an any percent completion. Dangerous, as soon as he gets that hammer, is going to be on his way to the castle and is going to be able to challenge the boss rush actually pretty soon. Yeah, but I'm assuming the main idea is here to grab the hammer. There would have obviously been technically a more optimal two-hand weapon to grab somewhere along the way. Obviously very unfortunate that he lost his axe so early on. That actually really made him lose track of his plans. But it's fine. It's going to be waiting for the boulder here to roll past and then run for the hammer. But Specs has now entered Day Metro. This is still the same kingdom, but as soon as the Mecha Wiggler is defeated, the state changes and you're actually free to grab some more moons. It's going to be warping to Great Plateau Tower and probably going to make a run for another horse from there. Now, Specs is not going for any scooter clip ideas. This moon can be obtained without capturing the Asika driver here and clipping into this cage with the scooter, which saves a little bit of time, but it's obviously an advanced strat and not needed at all. Yeah, pretty fast completion of that Asika challenge nonetheless. And yeah, Specs definitely did his research. He's grabbing pretty much all of the moons that the any percent route would grab. And that's the huge advantage between starting out playing this game and starting out playing Breath of the Wild as a speed game. I always say essentially what an any percent Odyssey speedrun is just playing the game very well and knowing what moons to grab. It's just like learning a little bit, like what moons do I get and how do I get them fast. And that's pretty much it. You just play the game well. There's no major game breaks or glitches. I mean, there's some glitches, but combined they maybe save a minute. For Breath of the Wild, doing glitches to break the game can save you around 10 minutes if you consider all of the bounces and clips, fall damage cancels and that kind of stuff. So that's obviously already a difference, but yeah. Danger's now going to be going for another horse. The one he got was actually pretty nice. Hopefully not going for the spotted one. He's going for the leader of the pack again, but wasn't on full stamina, so he's actually not able to tame the horse. He's going to run up to it again. But I think he will have a hard time taming this one, unless he approaches from above. Very easy to bonk here on top of the Yudong City tower. I'm not sure if that's the official name. Ooh, this horse looks good. This is... Oh no! Dangerous pressing X unintentionally. I was about to say, usually in a pack of horses, the horses that you want to grab are the pure horses, or the horses that are only one color, not the spotted ones, because they tend to... These are the ones you don't want to grab. You're able to tame them instantly, but they are, you see here, this one only has 2 stamina and fairly slow sprinting speed. And the sprinting speed actually is okay, but I've seen worse, but still not optimal. Unless you go for the infinite stamina horse glitch, which Dangerous... I mean, I personally did not even go for that. I think it's really hard to do optimally, because you have to do it so much, and it's a very timing intense input. But yeah, usually you don't want to grab the horse at the front, which is like the pack leader. Those ones have 4 stamina most of the time, but their sprinting speed is usually slower. But what you want to grab is you want to grab the pure horses that are not the leaders. Those ones are technically the fastest. They can have 3 stamina and very fast sprinting speed. The best horse in the game is Epona, which you can only obtain by using an amiibo. So won't see that one. Epona having 5 stamina and amazing sprint speed. And it's just going to make the run for Hyrule here. And that's the big difference. Like, that's basically what Dangerous is currently running towards, is the Moon Kingdom of this game. Specs just has to go through all of these kingdoms first before he even is granted access. But Dangerous is free to just make a run for it, get into the castle, and challenge the boss fights as soon as he stacked up, as he obtained some weapons. Yeah, he hasn't saved any of the Divine Beasts yet, but he's trying to save the world here. Dangerous is not wasting any time. He's playing it big. He's going for the head, you know. He's not wasting his time in these Divine Beasts. That's just a distraction, right? If you go for the Divine Beast, Ganon is just like you sort of went for the heads, as he basically still is wreaking havoc over Hyrule. And yeah, Dangerous getting a little bit bullied here by a Guardian behind him. Keep in mind, these Guardians do one-shot Link. He needs to be quite careful here. Even if he was full health, that would be a problem. And these Guardians are also quite fast, but the horse is still able to outrun that one. As Specs is actually getting pretty close here towards the end of Metro Kingdom, which most of the time marks the halfway point through the game. Now Dangerous is coming up at the outer walls of Hyrule Castle and is probably gonna go for that Stone Slab Lounge, which will then catapult him up all the way to the dining hall. He's probably going to go for a save here, as he sees the Guardian Walker ahead. Once again, these guys do not mess around. These guys will just one-shot you if the laser connects. Hasn't spotted Dangerous yet. He's actually going to be able to just ride past him. The Guardian there is AFK, not actually guarding the Castle of Hyrule correctly. And is making a run for the slab here. He's going to be able to save once again, and then basically has a couple attempts then. I mean, basically as many as he wants to use that slab to launch into the castle. And that's where the slab is positioned, right here. Interested to see how long it takes him to get this one. Optimally, you want to place a squared bomb here next to the chest, just as Dangerous is doing it. By being in this position, you just press the L button and the bomb will automatically be in this place. Then you stasis the slab, spin attack until the arrow is red. Then just cancel this attack early there, but this should be fine. Now blow up the bomb. Hopefully he's going to be able to do that. And that slab isn't fully charged up to red. Yeah, that wasn't going to work. He might just make... No, he's going to be reloading. He didn't charge his slab all the way to red, and he didn't save. Ooh. I just realized that he didn't save. That's kind of a bold. I didn't even see that. It's gonna have to ride into the castle again. Hopefully the Guardian is still AFK. At the same time, we see specs and stats in Snow Kingdom. Snow Kingdom is Jolly Kingdom. Amazing music. The Guardian here on the right. Yeah. Definitely guarding the castle. Oh, this time you actually noticed him. Okay. But then just hopefully able to, yep, very nice, make a turn quick enough. It's very important that this Guardian does not follow him though, as it will make the launch with the slab not impossible, but super stressful. At the same time, Specs here doing a great job with Snow Kingdom is going to be going for this Shop Moon. This is one of the optimal Shop Moons in the route. Probably not going to be going for any Snow Dram ideas, which is this one tricky jump that you can go for towards the end of Snow Kingdom. It saves around, I want to say, probably for most players around 8 seconds, overdoing the other moon that Specs is most likely going to be going for, but very, very tricky to do. And if you do mess it up, you basically have to keep attempting it until you get it. So probably not going to be messing with that. Now, Dangers did charge the arrow to red this time. He is fairly low on stamina, though. He needs to be careful that that is fine. He needs to be careful that he waits until the stamina is replenished before he goes for a glide. Now, this is not the intended strat that he wanted to do. Optimally, you want the slap to hit you, and funnily enough, if he did that, he would have actually died. This slap launch does 2 hearts of damage to you, and Dangers... Oh, I think Dangers is dead. Funnily enough, that slap launch does 2 hearts of damage to him, and he wasn't at 2 health, so if the slap hit him, he would have actually died. The thing is, the gameplay actually continues during this cutscene fade, and he was targeted by Guardian. Oh, very clever. I wonder if you watched my tutorial. You actually want to move in the fade in of the cutscene if this happens to you. Because yeah, this laser will keep targeting you throughout the cutscene, but they're just deciding to reload the file. He's gonna go for the launch again. Once again, he needs to check his health right now. I think this save file has him on less than 2 health, if I'm not correct. Yeah, he can't do the launch like this, but he has backup food. Very good. This does 2 hearts of damage, so this time he can actually go for the strat. On the right screen we see Specs in one of these story tile. Basically, these rooms are kind of tied to the story. The story of Snow Kingdom is that the story of Snow Kingdom is actually extremely weird. I don't know, like does anybody have the lore on this kingdom? Essentially, there's the secret race in the Snow Kingdom in Shiveria, but for some reason it's sealed off. How did that even work? Did Bowser seal them there? Because the idea here usually is to beat those 4 rooms and then gain access to the... Oh, he got the launch, but he's a little bit too far to the left. He's probably going to hit the pillar here. Very unfortunate. Also was a little bit low. But yeah, I don't even know what the lore is. Like, there's this secret race in Snow Kingdom, and Bowser plays like 4 seals. But the race is still happening, you know? Down there's actually like a crowd that is cheering. Did they not realize that they were trapped in there? It's really weird. Actually, now that I think of it, Snow lore absolutely doesn't make sense. At all. Anyways. Specs is not going to waste time with that race. He's just going to get the Story Moon rooms here. This is the last moon. He's going to grab the secret moon. There's another Rango boss fight supposed to be in here, and that is currently active. But he's not going to mess with that, and instead get the secret moon.
Okay, well, Dangers is going to have to heal himself before he attempts this slab. Otherwise, he's going to end up killing himself in midair.
This does 2 damage, and I know he has backup food. He was actually doing that earlier, but since he missed it and he reloaded, maybe he forgot about it. That happens a lot. Like, for example, like it's all about your save file. I noticed from like longer categories like Old Shrine, sometimes you have a save file, and on that save file, your bow is about to break or something, and then you keep messing up because your bow is about to break. Dangers is actually not going to get the intended strat, which makes it so that he doesn't take the damage. But this is also going to make it so that he won't get all the way to the castle. Yeah, someone in chat there pointing out the great idea that is usually what I recommend for the longer categories. You always, before you set up a save file, you want to make sure everything is fine. You want to make sure your weapon durability on it is fine. You want to make sure you are on the right module. So every time you reload, you can just go ahead and instantly go for the strat. Otherwise, you're going to have to do, every time you reload, you're going to have to do the same things again. Switch weapons, switch runes. So yeah, that's actually a major time save in long categories, that you get your save file right. Standing a little far to the left here for my tastes. It looks like this is not going to work. At some point, he might want to decide to just fly all the way over. He can actually, and I'm not sure if he's aware of that, even though he's not going to make it all the way to the higher section here and the crates where you can find arrows and bananas, which he needs that 1 banana there to cook the attack potion. You can make it to the lower ledge and then climb. It's pretty anxiety-inducing, to be honest. But it is, at this point, unless he figures out this launch quickly, probably the better choice. Once again, is low on health here, but this time he does think about eating. Yeah, Specs doing pretty great. I'm not sure if anybody kept track of timing, but so far Specs has been doing a pretty darn good job here with the completion of Odysseus already in Seaside Kingdom. There is Lunch Kingdom and Bowser's Kingdom to go, which are very long kingdoms, and especially for beginners usually tend to be very long in tasks, but he is doing pretty well. So yeah, I would recommend Dangerous to stand a little further to the right, and yeah, that's the problem here. He is not getting hit by that slab. He stands very far on the left. Maybe actually even wait a little bit longer before jumping. But he might take the right now. Maybe it's just gonna glide all the way over. And then slowly but surely climb up. He might also try to just climb, but his stamina is looking very low. I don't think it's gonna be possible. Yeah, no, this is not gonna work. It's gonna be too low on stamina. Ooh, and the Guardian also targeting him. He's probably just gonna go for another reload. This is a rough section, especially this is already rough, but if this is all you know, it turns even weirder, because this game, even at the start when you play any percent, is a lot about gaining experience. You want to be aware of the backups that you can do when things continuously fail. Like, there is a backup here that is, I want to say, around a minute slower if you climb up all the way, but you at least get to your destination. But yeah, here, this is what we were suggesting. At this point, Dangerous would have certainly saved time if he ate and set up a second save file where he's actually on higher health. And it's going to go for, once again, another slap launch. This time, going for the doublets here, a mechanic that we haven't really talked about yet. If you hit an object while facing your back to it, Link actually hits that object twice. Now, this time he's standing on a better spot. I like this spot. If he waits a little longer... Oh, very nice. Oh, no! Wait, how much health was he on? Wait, he died from 2.5? Wait, what? For some reason, I thought this only... Wait, this only does 2 damage, I'm pretty sure. This is a normal launch, right? He somehow took 2.5 damage. Should probably make sure to eat to full HP then. Which he is at right now, because if you die, your health gets set to full. But that was at least the official... Not the official, but that was the intended launch. The same time, Specs finishing up Seaside, gonna make his run for Luncheon Kingdom now. Only 4 kingdoms for him to play through, but Luncheon's certainly pretty tricky. Ooh, this is not gonna work. I think Dangerous blew up the bomb unintentionally, and if you do that, that slap, and it actually looks like it won't matter, but it does, is actually gonna be slightly affected. So I would be surprised if this still works. Maybe a little bit of a weird angle that he could still get. But let's see. But now he has at least figured out that he needs to stand a little further on the right to get that slap hit in. The slap is very low though. He still gets hit and he's able to put his glider, but he was too low, and that is actually most likely due to the slap already being affected from that first bomb explosion. He needs to be careful now to not get shot, otherwise he's gonna lose even more time as he has to sit through that game over screen. And at the same time, Specs going for an actually pretty tricky first moon, the one on the salt pile there. Once again, looking to just go for all of these official any percent routes moons. Once again, now Dangerous gonna be trying to go for this slap launch, the slabber, as the community likes to call it. He's gonna take his time to set up the bomb. And as soon as he does get this thread, all it is from there is just making it through the castle, stack up, and then throw himself at those boss fights. But that is gonna be easily the hardest section of the run. Oh, very nice. This time he got it. Got hit by the slap, is gonna survive from it too. Took 2.5 damage again. Maybe actually... in my opinion... Oh no! Okay, he's still fine, but for some reason he closed his glider early, which actually loses his momentum. He is still okay, unless the Guardian targets him super early. But he is up here. Now, this is a very frustrating part in any percent. It's dangerous is completing this category without Amiibo right here. The crate that he's currently facing is a crate with a random variety of fruit. And one of these fruits... Oh, this is awesome. He got pretty nice RNG here in that arrow crate. He should actually save again. Definitely save again. If he thinks about it. It's very nice. 20 arrows from that first crate. That's beautiful. It's going to be a major help for the boss fight. And he's getting... Wait, did he get 2? No, he got 1 durian and 1 banana. This is actually really good RNG. He's actually going to be able to cook that durian into a little bit of a healthy, hearty meal. Perfect RNG in that room. Banana first try, 20 arrows. It's going to be set to make his way towards that boss rush. However, the castle is still tricky. This is, while not necessarily the hardest part to learn, in my opinion, in any percent the hardest part to optimize, to play optimally. Is it still raining? Wow, so this is something I personally never have to deal with, because when I play any percent, I do the Shrine of Resurrection clip at the start, which makes it so that the rain is actually disabled, pretty much. But the rain just stopped. Got pretty lucky on that, and once again, RNG is on his side. At the same time, Specs is making his way through Luncheon, which this part actually, the unintended talk with... No, he just loves to listen to that text. Really, really making sure to know what ingredients the soup is currently cooking up. Oh, he got spotted by that moblin. That is usually actually not a big deal. Those moblins, while they are scary and they can kill you quickly, they are pretty sluggish and slow. Most enemies in this game you can actually easily outrun. He's grabbing the spear. He needs to be careful. The one moblin with the club behind him is extremely dangerous and will one-shot him. But he's making... Oh, don't turn around, don't turn around. Yep, just keep running, especially since you run out of stamina. Otherwise, this moblin will follow him through that hallway. At the same time, Specs is approaching the Forks sub-room, which is also a very tricky room. But they're just playing it smart, playing it safe. It's going to be putting in a safety save.
A lot of manual safety saves are going to be very useful if you know where to put them.
And that's exactly the problem with the Fork sub-room. Motion control inputs failing. Ooh, is he actually going to get the sneak strike here? Very nice.
That is very impressive, not going to lie.
Whistling there to distract that moblin. And that's probably the moblin guts that he's going to be picking up. Hopefully not forgetting it. That is the crucial ingredient to increase his strength potion duration.
On the bright side, if he does forget the moblin guts, when he takes down the moblin near the cooking pot, if that's the route he's going, which I believe it is, he can get moblin guts there as well.
Yeah.
Why is he not breaking the boxes? The boxes are crucial for arrow RNG.
I'm assuming he's gonna go back and then just go through the library. I actually saw him there too. There's actually, even though it's very slow, there is a easier to get Stone Smasher down there. So technically you can skip killing those moblins at the cooking pot, which is a tricky section. If you just distract them by the bomb, you can get the Stone Smasher in the library. And you can actually also go down to the docks where there's another arrow crate that can give you up to like 10 to 20 arrows. Probably losing around a minute, but I want to say interesting safety strip.
So he wouldn't have decided to drop back down for the moblin guts, which was probably a good move. That way he doesn't accidentally forget the ones that are coming up here. So you're saying that his route is going to be kill the moblins, cook the potion, and then go library route? So kind of like a mix of the two routes?
That's what I'm assuming, yeah. That way, he didn't pick up that banana earlier because he kind of got spotted. The dining hall now offers some good food items that are definitely worth picking up. Link has something... Basically, he has something like a one-shot protection. When Link is on full health and there's an attack that is threatening to kill him, if he's on full health, most attacks are granted some sort of one-shot protection, where instead of dying to it, you will be left alive with a quarter heart. There is exceptions to that rule, but the most important fight throughout Blights is that he consistently heals himself up to 3 HP, so he can take that one hit. So picking up more food is a good idea.
Now, the times we normally see with cooking, particularly with the recipe that he's going to be using, is generally around 6 minutes, 7 minutes. If he doesn't do if he has some trouble with the Blights, he might find that time running out when he's with Calamity, which could put in danger his durability for the two-handed weapons that he'll be using to stunlock Calamity.
Looks like he's not even gonna attempt to kill them. That's the smart play here, as long as he isn't getting spotted. And I'm not sure if he... No, I was about to say it. Like, these guys are just like AFK when you throw the bomb. All they care about is this bomb. And all he needs is this Razor Shroom, exactly.
Yeah, they're completely oblivious to anything Link's doing.
Don't
now,
press
if he...
A.
No, the beetle!
Oh, that's
the beetle
exactly...
is gone!
Yep.
He's gonna have to reload.
He's gonna have to reload, and I'm not sure if he figured that one out yet. The problem here is, even though he didn't get spotted... No, don't do it. The game thought he got spotted, and that basically brought up that prompt that he isn't allowed to cook here. You can actually still cook if you do some camera manipulation there. Get those moblins off the screen. In certain spots, you will still be granted that cooking prompt. But that's something, obviously, a little bit of a niche knowledge. And,
yeah, absolutely. If you just continue turning the camera while trying to cook, eventually it'll let you do it. Even if the moblin is like literally right next to the cooking pot. So Spag's going into the boss fight for this world.
Which isn't a boss fight.
Oh,
this is also the boss arena. No, this is also the boss arena. But
no.
he already completed enough moons that he's gonna be able to leave after this first part of the story, where you just go into the spot, grab the multi-moon, and that's gonna be his last moon. He did just point out that this is his new least favorite kingdom, and I can hyper relate. As I said earlier, this is usually the least favorite kingdom for new runners, since there's so much chances to take damage. But ooh.
That's gonna be a problem. That's gonna be a problem. Yep.
Yeah, they kicked the bomb into the other direction. It's actually kind of precise there where to throw your bomb.
Absolutely. I know I spent more than my fair share of time just trying to find exactly where I need to point my camera so that the bomb goes exactly where I want it to. And even then, the moblins sometimes don't behave. They can be very tricky.
That is also why I do still like the main approach here from him, because even though this is already hard, it's even harder to basically like squeeze in these two sneak strikes between those cooking actions to get the Stone Smasher. And since he's going back for the library anyways, there's like maybe like a 15-second detour to get another Stone Smasher, which is a lot easier.
Oh, absolutely. Lim, did he grab the Trilizol boomerang? Or is he going to try to get that from the library?
Yeah, and I actually... Okay, this was my idea, where I watched him practice yesterday, and I really love it, actually. This is a strat that we should both learn. Like, everybody should actually add an 80% because it's fast, and I saw Sketchodara do this. You can actually kill that Lyssalphos with the bookshelf. And the reason that's faster is because you get to just straight up fly to him without going to the left and without whistle running or anything, so you can just glide all the way and use Magnesis on the bookshelf and kill him that way. And even though this is hard to do optimally, it's pretty easy to do casually, and that way he doesn't have to learn like the sneak strike, which is pretty tricky on that Lyssalphos.
That's a very interesting strategy you got there. Does the Lyssalphos die first hit, or is he going to have to whack him a couple of times?
Optimally, he dies first hit, but that only works if you make it so that the bookshelf falls on him. Like, if you place the bookshelf over him and let go of Magnesis, it will one-shot him. Otherwise, you need a couple hits, but it's still relatively easy to do. Asder,
excuse me for butchering your name. To answer your question, it's both any percent, but you're going to find that Breath of the Wild's difficulty level, particularly in the last boss rush, is going to really slow Dangers down. So even though he looks like he's farther ahead than Specs and Stats, it's going to be a close race.
If finishing an Odyssey run is a difficulty... I want to say any percent actually is one of the easiest categories to learn. Super Mario Odyssey, any percent. One of the most beginner-friendly speedruns possible. Breath of the Wild on the other side, one of the hardest, and I'm not even joking. Like, just finishing a run of this is something that I respect people for.
Absolutely.
Majorly.
I
It's
remember my
crazy.
first run. I didn't even attempt the first run until like 6 months after trying to learn the speed
On
run.
the other hand, Specs is on 1 HP and ruined. If you die here, you lose 3 minutes. Which is actually also scary, but he clutched it out there.
3 minutes? A ton. Holy cow. Alright, it looks like he managed to save it.
Those arrows, though, Dangers, I'm not sure if you got that first crate, got extremely good arrows so far. He got 20 arrows from the first crate in the castle, and he just got another, like, 30. Oh, dropping the bomb.
Not a bad idea.
Very nice.
The real challenge is going to be this Lizalfos, which I'm betting he already has experience with. Those bomb arrows
Nice.
will just splash damage him to death. It's not even funny. So, good idea to headshot the Lizalfos there.
Okay, you do get an automatic save if you enter this room. Obviously, once again, niche knowledge that you are not supposed to just know at day one.
Yeah, it's weird knowing which autosaves you can rely on versus which ones will just destroy your runs.
Yeah, I was also about to say he dropped quite scarily low to that Lizalfos.